watching Alabama Broadcasters Station of the Year. Coverage you can count on. WAAY 31 Midday News starts now.
Lawmakers revealing what they found in their Capitol riot investigation, how that first public hearing went.
Plus, inflation cuts deep. We head out to the farm to find out how those price increases are hurting North Alabama farmers. Thanks so much for joining us for WAAY 31 Midday News. I'm Matt Kroschel.
And I'm Megan Reyna. And our top story at this hour, a Capitol riot suspect from North Alabama expected to be in court today. Dylan Harrington from Madison has a virtual status hearing. He's accused of attacking Capitol Police with a piece of lumber. The House Select Committee investigating the Capitol riot, sharing some of its findings.
ABC's Jay O'Brien has more as the committee attempted to make their case that former President Donald Trump is responsible for the riot.
To a primetime television audience, the House Select Committee investigating the January 6th attack on the Capitol, methodically laying out the results of its 11-month-long investigation. The committee arguing the deadly Capitol riot was an attempted coup and arguing former President Donald Trump was at the center of a conspiracy to overturn the 2020 election. During the hearing, playing taped testimony from those in Trump's inner circle, like former Attorney General Bill Barr and his daughter Ivanka, to make the case Trump knew he'd lost the election.
I made it clear I did not agree with the idea of saying the election was stolen and putting out this stuff, which I told the president was bull.
And Trump's former top aide Jason Miller telling the committee that a top data analyst on the campaign told Trump he'd lost the presidency. The committee's presentation also including this video showing Enrique Tarrio, the leader of the Proud Boys, meeting with Stuart Rhodes, the head of another far-right group, the Oath Keepers, in an underground garage the day before the Capitol attack. The new footage also showing rioters brutalizing police. And here, Capitol Police Officer Caroline Edwards struggling to hold the line against the mob. Moments later, thrown to the ground and knocked unconscious.
What I saw was just a war scene.
Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney, the committee's vice chair, not mincing words about Trump's alleged culpability in the riot or that of her Republican colleagues who continue to support him.
There will come a day when Donald Trump is gone, but your dishonor will remain.
Now, Cheney claims the committee has documents proving that shortly after the January 6th Capitol attack, several Republican congressmen reached out to President Trump for pardons for their role in trying to overturn the election, something at least one Republican congressman who was named by the committee calls a lie. The January 6th committee will hold their next public hearing on Monday. In Washington, I'm Jay O'Brien, ABC News.
Alrighty, thanks, Jay. WAAY 31 storm tracker meteorologist Carson Meredith joins us now for a check of that forecast. We know that there is a heat wave on the way.
It's on the way, but maybe this weekend will be nice, at least for now. Carson?
At least for now. That's the key phrase, guys. Temperatures are actually really comfortable here at 11 o'clock. There's that view of Decatur on the WAAY 31 Skycam network, sponsored by Thompson Roofing and Construction. You notice we kind of have a thin cloud cover across North Alabama, and this will be the storyline throughout the day. So maybe not the most amount of sunshine, but we'll get a few peaks of sun here and there. Big headline, though, is these comfortable temperatures. 77 in Decatur, also 77 in Huntsville, 75 in Scottsboro, 76 in Fort Payne, 78 in both Muscle Shoals and Moulton right now. And as you look at the WAAY 31 Storm Tracker Early Warning Radar Network, you notice we still have a quiet picture here in North Alabama. But let's zoom things out to the west across Mississippi. Big line of thunderstorms. If you're watching us this morning, we were talking about this activity in Oklahoma. It's now heading towards Jackson, Mississippi. I want to draw your attention, though, to this light rain that we're seeing in Memphis right now. Some of that light rain could clip our Shoals counties through the early afternoon hours. Otherwise, we are going to stay dry. So it's just a 10 to 20% chance, mainly in northwest Alabama, for a couple of those showers. Not a bad day to head out for lunch. Temperatures eventually heading for the low 80s this afternoon. But like we talked about, the heat wave is back in a big way next week. I'm tracking just how hot it will get in your 7-day in a few minutes.
Thank you, sir. Crews right now working to fix some power lines that are down over in Hampton Cove. Heavy rain, high winds earlier this week took those lines down near the entrance to Hayes Nature Preserve. That's off Highway 431. No timeline exactly when they'll get that reopened, that entranceway. In the meantime, park goers should use the entrance off of Round Bar Drive. Take a second right now to download our WAAY 31 Storm Tracker weather app. You can scan that code you see right on your screen there to start the process. It's super easy. You get exclusive access to our WAAY 31 Storm Tracker early warning radar network, and it is free for Apple and Android devices.
11:05 right now. A man is dead after an early morning crash in Madison County. State troopers say 38-year-old Freddie Copeland was killed when his Jeep left the road on Wall Triana Highway near Dexter Circle. Investigators say he was not wearing a seatbelt. Casey White's defense team isn't happy prosecutors dropped his escape charge. A judge granted a motion which allows prosecutors to bring the charge back later, but that charge meant a preliminary hearing, which could reveal new evidence that could be used during White's upcoming capital murder trial. The trial's been pushed back to December 12th. A former Huntsville doctor will spend more than a year in prison. Marshall Plotka pleaded guilty to storing illegal drugs at his home in Owens Crossroads. This happened back in 2019. A judge rejected his last-minute effort to take back his guilty plea, yesterday. Plotka will now remain free on bond until August 8, but has to report to the prison and begin serving his time then.
Right here in Alabama and just down the road, a man is dead after Gadsden police say he tried to force himself inside of a school and a school resource officer shot him. Investigators say that officer tried to arrest that man, Robert White, and then shot him when he resisted. Now they want to know why White wanted inside the school in the first place.
He did exactly what should be done. He went straight to the threat, he confronted it, and he dealt with it, and it ended in, unfortunately, the death of the suspect, but that's the safest alternative, to keep that threat out of that school.
That SRO was taken to the hospital with minor injuries. No kids were hurt during that incident.
Recent gun violence here in the U.S. has put pressure on lawmakers to pass gun reforms. The president says he won't implement any measures through executive action, though. So a bipartisan group of senators are still discussing a bill. It would exchange background checks for people wishing to buy guns, also require someone to be at least 21 to buy a semi-automatic rifle.
I think that we can put together a package that will get more than 10 Republican votes. And again, the reason for that is the demand from their constituents.
A bill that incentivized states to pass red flag laws is now headed to the U.S. Senate.
All new at midday, inflation not slowing down. The nation's inflation rate for the 12-month period that ended last month went up 8.6%. That's according to the Consumer Price Index, and that is the fastest pace in more than 40 years. Experts say part of the reason for the hike is filling up that tank. According to AAA, the national average for a gallon of gas, this one hurts nearly $5 a gallon. Well, shoppers are feeling the pain at the grocery store too, especially when you're buying food for breakfast. Farmers say the bird flu causing fewer eggs to appear on your store shelves. Higher gas prices also hurting them. Some local farmers telling us they're waiting longer to get the supplies they need.
The avian influenza has affected our meat chickens. Normally we can order those as baby chicks pretty quickly within a week or two, but now it's out 4 or 6 weeks.
Hello. You may be paying about 25% more than you're used to when it comes to purchasing a single carton of eggs.
Well, new at midday, international travelers flying to the U.S. will soon no longer have to take a COVID test before their flight. White House sources say the mandate will expire this Sunday. It's because the CDC says it's no longer necessary. There are still concerns, though, that lifting that mandate could lead to more variants.
11:08. When we come back, you might want to think twice before you submit that next job application.
How to look out for job scams.
It is just a little bit gloomy out there on this Friday, but we are dry, 77 here in Huntsville. But as we go through the next 7 days, we're talking about dangerous heat. We'll lay us on that coming up.
Coverage you can count on. You're watching WAAY 31 News with the WAAY 31 Storm Tracker Early Warning Radar Network.
New for you here at midday. The FTC says there's an uptick in the number of reports of job seekers getting scammed. There were more than 16,000 complaints filed in the first quarter of this year. Scammers usually try to get your personal information. Experts say do a little research on the potential employer before you go on handing over things like your social security numbers. Huntsville's Brookdale Senior Center needs to hire caregivers. It's hosting a job fair right now until 4 o'clock over at Brookwood's facility on Carl T. Jones Drive. Managers plan to conduct on-the-spot interviews, so be ready. They may even hire some people at that event. They say bring your resumes with you and dress to impress.
Bad news if you're looking to buy a house. It is getting more expensive to buy a home as mortgage rates are climbing again. According to Freddie Mac, the 30-year fixed rate mortgage averaged more than 5%. It remains well above the nearly 3% average from this time last year. Well, leaders in Ukraine say Russia is stealing grain and turning food into a weapon of war. The United Nations says Russia's invasion could starve more than 47 million people worldwide. They say Russia is blocking ports that's used to export millions of tons of grain.
And this is a cold, callous, and calculated siege by Putin on some of the most vulnerable countries and people in the world. And therefore, honourable members, food has become now part of the Kremlin's arsenal of terror.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is calling for Russia to be expelled from the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations.
Here's a bright idea. The White House working on a plan to standardize electric vehicle charging stations. It can be frustrating if you're out there and you show up at the wrong charger. The proposed rule would require 500,000 charging stations to be compatible with any electric car. Right now, there are 3 different types of chargers. $5 billion already being used to build new charging stations across the country because of the federal infrastructure law that was passed last year. Meanwhile, a new charging station is getting ready to open here in Huntsville. This is the new Tesla supercharger station over at Mid-City District. Huntsville Utilities installed a transformer there that will power about 12 chargers earlier this week.
Online shoe shopping is getting more interesting, you could say.
How Amazon is letting you try on those shoes virtually before you buy them. Welcome back. Japanese scientists say they are now able to wrap a machine with living human skin.
Okay, well, let's check this out. Scientists at the University of Tokyo developed a robotic finger covered in the skin, and it is able to heal itself. The team says the lab-grown coating can be used for transplantation, cosmetic, and drug testing, or even as covering for prosthetic limbs.
Wow.
Okay, it's interesting, I understand, but it gets a little weird. Well, the computer chip shortage that has been hitting tech companies for 2 years now is threatening the next generation of smartphones. The absolute top end of computer chips has largely been unaffected, but now experts say we could start seeing shortfalls over the next couple of years. Well, Amazon is presenting a new way to try on shoes.
This might keep you from sending so many shoes back, Megan, once you get them.
I know, this is helpful.
The company just unveiled a feature that lets you see how a virtual pair of shoes looks on you. It uses augmented reality to show you how the shoes will look in different angles and colors. It is the latest in Amazon's line of AR shopping tools to make online shopping more interactive. Facebook's parent company, Meta, reportedly shutting down production of its smartwatch. According to Bloomberg, the watch with 2 cameras is being put on hold, and the company will focus on other wearable tech for now.
We're going to get a check for your weekend forecast with Storm Talker meteorologist Carson Meredith.
Carson, anytime I can use the pool out back, it's going to be a good weekend.
Yes.
And I understand it might be a pretty nice weekend for that.
I think it will. Be it by the pool, heading to the Trash Pandas games, going out on the lake. Should be a nice weekend all in all. Right now, though, on the WAAY 31 Skycam network, it is kind of gloomy out there, but temperatures are very comfortable. Last check here in Huntsville, 77, also 77 in Decatur, and it's 78 degrees in both Muscle Shoals and Gunnersville. We are going to keep that filtered cloud cover, if you will, throughout the rest of your Friday, but the WAAY 31 Storm Tracker early warning radar network for most of us will stay dry. There is a small shower chance if you're watching us this morning in our Shoals counties, but it's just a 10 to 20% chance, and we're not concerned about any thunderstorms today. So walking you through the rest of the afternoon, we'll keep those high temperatures in the lower 80s, so a little bit below average for this time of year, thanks in part to that cloud cover. And if you have any Friday evening plans, should be just fine. 75 degrees by 7 o'clock tonight, and still hovering near 70 by 10 tonight. Now let's talk about those chores outdoors this weekend. Like we mentioned, Saturday, Sunday should be just fine, but we'll start to warm things up just a little bit. Still in the mid 80s tomorrow, then the 90s we arrive on Sunday, And then by Monday, I'm going to go yellow light, not necessarily for rain, but for dangerous heat, especially during the afternoon hours, not just Monday, but all of next week. How about that pollen forecast this weekend? Well, same story as it always is this time of year. That grass pollen is still in the very high category, and it's going to stay that way, unfortunately, for quite some time. So here we go with future radar. Note the time. This is 7 o'clock this evening. Any lingering showers that are still around, they're starting to scoot to our south across central Alabama this evening. Should be dry for any outdoor plans you have tonight, but those clouds will hold tough. When you wake up tomorrow morning, maybe some clearing, but we'll have more of that mix of sun and clouds throughout the day on Saturday as well. Nearly everybody stays dry tomorrow, but I can't totally rule out maybe 1 or 2 sprinkles passing by. That's all, just a 10% chance. And then by Sunday, more of the same mix of sun and clouds, but the heat is back in a big way. We mentioned we start to go back into the lower 90s on Sunday, and then Monday and Tuesday, 96 degrees both days. Keep in mind, those are the actual air temperatures. When you factor in that humidity that's starting to build back in by early next week, it will feel more like the triple digits during that peak heat of the day, Monday afternoon, Tuesday afternoon, and likely through most, if not all, of next week. Our extended temperature outlook, this takes us through June 20th. You see all those shades of red? Simply put, we are going to stay way above average for this time of year. Usually we're talking about highs in the upper 80s, closer to 90. But as you see here on that 7-day forecast, we will be in the mid-90s again pretty much all of next week. As far as any rain chances that might give us some relief, there's not a whole lot. Maybe a couple of showers on Wednesday, a few more storms on Thursday, but it won't be enough to really give us much relief at all. Again, highs in the mid-90s next week. Heat index values in the lower triple digits. Just get ready to stay hydrated and just get outside this weekend if you can.
Carson, thank you so much. 11:21, and I'll definitely get out this weekend. And here's an opportunity of music coming to Sand Mountain Amphitheater.
You can snatch up those tickets right now. We'll tell you how coming up.
Happening today, the Rocket City Trash Pandas look to even up their series against the Mississippi Braves.
The team 1 game behind after only winning 1 during that doubleheader yesterday. First pitch tonight at 6:35, but stick around after the game for those famous fireworks.
Very impressive. Love the fireworks show.
Meanwhile, Auburn's baseball team now calling Oregon home for now as they get ready for their super regional game with Oregon State.
And Tiger fans, of course, came together for a big send-off party yesterday. So Auburn will play the Beavers tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. Head baseball coach Butch Thompson says even though the team is far from home, they're playing for all the fans on the plains.
I tell them over and over how much I appreciate them because I think for the most part, they're baseball guys and they're guys and nobody's perfect. But I think they tried to do everything they could for the most part to represent Auburn, their families, and our coaching staff and our baseball program the best they possibly can.
And again, you can catch that game at 9 on ESPN2. Well, there's a new champion at the University of Alabama. Junior Mercy Chellingat won the 10,000 meters race at the NCAA Track and Field Championships yesterday. She completed the more than 6-mile race in just more than 32 minutes. She is the first Crimson Tide runner to win an NCAA 10,000 meters championship. Congratulations. Happening today, you can relax and listen to some music at the Sand Mountain Amphitheater.
Yeah, Megan, we're talking about the American-Made Music Festival. The music starts at 2:30 this afternoon. The 2-day event, bringing together several local acts. You can still buy a 1-day pass for as low as $20. Coming up, the Biden administration is expected to drop its COVID testing requirements for international travelers.
When the mandate will expire.
Coverage you can count on. You're watching WAAY 31 News with the WAAY 31 Storm Tracker Early Warning Radar Network.
Welcome back. Let's take a live look over Decatur right now, courtesy of our Sky Camera Network. Kind of cloudy, but it is going to be a nice weekend. Can't say it'll be that great for next week as far as the heat goes.
If you have air conditioning.
Well, if you have air conditioning, that's right. Well, thanks so much for staying with us for WAAY 31 Midday News. I'm Megan Moreno.
And I'm Matt Crochet. We want to start right here at 11:30 over at their Storm Tracker Weather Center. Meteorologist Carson Meredith. And Carson, you are tracking some of that heat coming our way.
A lot of it too. Mid-90s next week, guys. Feeling more like the triple digits. We're used to talking about that in August, not June. That's why we need to get outside today and this weekend. Not bad out there here as we close in on noon. 77 last check in Huntsville. Same story goes for Decatur. 78 in Muscle Shoals right now, and it's 75 in Scottsboro. Let's talk about your weather on the go, hour by hour, with our WAAY 31 Storm Tracker weather app. We are going to keep that mostly cloudy sky around today. We might have a few peaks of sunshine, but I think we'll have more clouds than anything else. And because of that, those temperatures will stay well below average for this time of year. 83, in fact, is our forecast high. And you see that 10 to 20% chance for a few of those isolated showers through the rest of your Friday afternoon. Those chances are primarily for our friends in the shoals. If you're here in the metro, Sand Mountain, you're going to stay dry for the rest of the day. But that 10 to 20% chance is for the shoals. And if you have any Friday night plans, temperatures not too bad. 70 degrees by 9 o'clock tonight. And with some clearing skies overnight, we'll drop into the mid-60s once again. Let's look ahead to the next 3 days. Saturday, just fine. More of the same, 86. And then we start that heat wave, 91 on Sunday. And it gets even hotter from there heading into next week. We'll talk more about the feels like forecast with those very hot afternoons next week coming up in a few minutes.
All right, thank you so much, Carson. Well, happening today, a Capitol riot suspect from North Alabama is expected to be in court. Dylan Harrington from Madison has a virtual status hearing. Investigators say he tried to hit police officers twice, including with a piece of lumber. And the whole country has been talking about that evidence uncovered by the committee investigating the 2021 U.S. Capitol riot.
It is the first night of public hearings. The committee says the attack was part of a conspiracy to overturn the 2020 presidential election results. It said former President Trump fueled that riot by, as they put it, spreading lies about election fraud.
January 6th was the culmination of an attempted coup, a brazen attempt, as one rioter put it shortly after January 6th, to overthrow the government. The violence was no accident. It represented Trump's last stand, most desperate chance to halt the transfer of power.
Several Trump advisors say they tried to warn Trump about spreading lies about election fraud.
I saw absolutely zero basis for the allegations, but they were made in such a sensational way that they obviously were influencing a lot of people, members of the public.
So people across North Alabama paying very close attention to these Capitol riot hearings that are still ongoing.
And a political analyst in Huntsville says it's a good idea to have these hearings in the public eye. It's so both sides of the aisle can get a better understanding of what happened that day a little more than a year and a half ago, and that it's public record.
We can't afford to let this slide. I don't know if America's listening or not. They should be, regardless of who it is, whether it's a Republican president or a Democratic president.
Now, the downside of these hearings is that it can further divide an already divisive country. Now, the next hearing is set for Monday at 9 in the morning. We'll make sure to stay on top of those latest developments, both on air and online at WAAYTV.com. You can also count on ABC News for full coverage.
A man is dead after an early morning crash in Madison County. State troopers say a 38-year-old man by the name of Freddie Copeland was killed when his Jeep left the road he was traveling on over on Wall-Trina Highway near Dexter Circle. Investigators say he was not wearing his seatbelt. New for you at midday, police say a man is facing charges after trying to rob a Walmart in Huntsville. They say Randy Chappelle was caught shoplifting from the South Parkway location. That's when he showed employees he had a gun under his clothes. Then he threw some goods down before driving off. Officers found him. Now he's charged with robbery and unlawful possession of a concealed weapon. Take a look at your screen right now. Investigators with Madison County Sheriff's Office say they need your help. They want to find out who this guy is. They say he stole credit and debit cards out of people's cars at the Colonial Golf Course in Meridianville. Investigators believe he used the stolen cards to buy thousands of dollars worth of electronics from a Madison and a Huntsville Target store. If you know who this person is or you have any information about where he's at, you can call the sheriff's office and tip them off.
Casey White's defense team isn't happy. Prosecutors dropped his escape charge. A judge granted a motion which allows the prosecutors to actually bring it back later. But the charge meant a preliminary hearing, which could have revealed new evidence that could have been used during White's upcoming capital murder trial. That trial is scheduled for December 12th. Right here in Alabama, a man is dead after Gadsden police say he tried to force himself inside a school and a resource officer shot him. Investigators say that officer tried to arrest Robert White and shot him when he resisted. Now they want to know why White wanted inside that school in the first place.
He did exactly what should be done. He went straight to the threat, he confronted it, and he dealt with it, and it ended in, unfortunately, the death of the suspect, but that's the safest alternative, to keep that threat out of that school.
The SRO was taken to the hospital for minor injuries, and we're just thankful to report no kids were hurt in that incident. We do have more information now on the investigation into the Uvalde, Texas school massacre. The school's police chief now speaking out as questions remain about law enforcement's response.
ABC's Rin Roy has the latest as funerals continue for the 21 victims.
Uvalde School Police Chief Pete Arredondo breaking his silence and defending law enforcement's response in the Uvalde school shooting for the first time in an interview with the Texas Tribune, saying the only thing that was important to me at this time was to save as many teachers and children as possible, adding not a single responding officer ever hesitated even for a moment to put themselves at risk to save the children. This after growing questions about police response time. The gunman was inside the school for 77 minutes, killing 19 children and 2 teachers. An official tells ABC News Arredondo was overheard that day, saying people are going to ask why we're taking so long. Arredondo tells the Texas Tribune he ran into the school without body armor, leaving his radio behind, claiming it would slow him down. He says he began searching rooms before finding the shooter inside a classroom. Without breaching equipment, he says they tried opening the door with dozens of keys before finding the correct one. Also, without his radio, he claims he was unaware of the 911 calls from students inside the classroom and that nobody relayed the information to him.
Is there anybody inside of the building? I is advising he is in the room full of victims.
Sources tell ABC in a preliminary assessment, state investigators believe that police officers delayed entry into the school as the shooting occurred because they were waiting for protective gear to arrive. Waiting for protective gear goes against active shooter protocols that have been adopted by law enforcement agencies across the country.
Arredondo says he didn't speak out earlier because he didn't want to add to the town's grief. It's unclear if he's on leave or if he's still working for the school district. Multiple investigations are underway into law enforcement's response. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
Still unimaginable to think about what happened in that community, still grieving. Now, recent gun violence in the U.S. has put pressure on lawmakers to pass gun reforms. The president says he won't implement any measures through executive action, though. A bipartisan group of senators are now discussing a bill that would enhance background checks for people wishing to buy guns and would require someone to be 21 to buy a semi-automatic rifle.
I think that we can put together a package that will get more than 10 Republican votes. And again, the reason for that is the demand from their constituents.
A bill that incentivizes states to pass red flag laws is also now headed to the U.S. Senate.
New at midday, international travelers flying to the U.S. will soon no longer have to take a COVID test before that flight. White House sources saying the mandate will expire this Sunday. It's because the CDC says it's no longer necessary. There are still concerns, of course. Lifting the testing requirement could lead to more variants. A team of international scientists, meanwhile, tasked with understanding how the coronavirus pandemic began, released their first report. It didn't really tell us much more, new at least. The report shows all the scenarios are still on the table, including a possibility that there was a laboratory incident. The group tasked by the World Health Organization says the most likely scenario is that the virus jumped from animals to humans, but gaps in key pieces of data are still making that study difficult.
New data shows some babies born during the COVID-19 pandemic may be developmentally behind. Researchers say there's an uptick in delays like talking, walking, and interacting. Even in a handful of studies, kids born during the pandemic scored lower for motor skills and problem solving. Other studies reveal pandemic babies vocalize less than pre-pandemic babies because of increased screen time and masks. Thousands of pounds of baby formula now headed to store shelves after arriving from Europe. The shipment was delivered to Texas and will fill more than 1.5 million bottles for babies across the country. Health leaders say more shipments are expected to arrive in the next few days.
Access to formula is extremely important to ensure all our babies get the nutrients they need to grow and thrive.
We're going to have a lot more baby formula available to parents real soon.
Here in the U.S., President Biden is using the Defense Production Act to get ingredients to baby formula makers to speed up production.
11:40 coming up. Shoppers are feeling the pain at the grocery store, especially when you're buying food for breakfast.
Why local farmers say the price of eggs is so high. Welcome back. Right now, federal prosecutors in Manhattan are investigating Wells Fargo. ABC News confirms the investigation is focused on looking into the bank's hiring practices. It comes after the New York Times reports employees said they were told by supervisors to interview women and people of color, even though the hiring decision had already been made.
It's exactly what you thought. If you're feeling that pain and when you get to the egg counter, well, it's because things are costing more. Farmers say the bird flu is causing fewer eggs to appear on store shelves. High gas prices are hurting them as well. Some local farmers saying they're waiting longer to get the supplies they need.
The avian influenza has affected our meat chickens. Normally we can order those as baby chicks pretty quickly within a week or two, but now it's out 4 or 6 weeks.
So you may be paying about 25% more than you used to when it comes to a single carton of eggs. And if your house is like mine, we go through a lot of eggs. And if you like some hot sauce on those eggs, more bad news. One of the world's largest producers of sriracha anticipating a major shortage. Hoi Fong Foods says severe weather affected the quality of its chili peppers, and their current inventory does not meet that demand. The company not accepting any new orders until September.
Matt, I heard you had a few extra bottles of sriracha because I need one. All right, well, Popeyes is celebrating 50 years, selling 2 pieces of its bone-in chicken for just 59 cents, the same price it sold for when it opened back in 1972. Pretty cheap. The week-long deal starts June 12th. The official anniversary comes with a $5 order minimum, but the chicken chain plans to announce more celebration deals as the month continues.
Sorry, no eggs. Coming up, one Alabama zoo has a brand new resident.
Aw, look at him. How this African lion ended up at the Birmingham Zoo.
It's not a zoo baby, but we do have a new resident alert for you. The Birmingham Zoo says it's excited for everyone to meet their new 6-year-old African lion. Josh, coming to us in Bama from a zoo in San Antonio.
Aww.
Officials say the lion is a social cat, and they were looking for a friend for their female kitten over there. Yeah, they had to meet up there at the zoo in Birmingham. Zookeepers say they will introduce them very soon.
Cute. How sweet.
Very cute. A slightly smaller feline in Texas has one less life after an encounter with a coyote. It was all captured on surveillance cameras.
I love this video. I actually shared it this morning on my social media. So look at this. A cat came face to face with a hungry coyote in Surfside Beach, Texas, and narrowly survived.
Don't mess with the cats.
Look at him. The cat frantically tried to hide and escape after a few close calls. It made its way to safety. I mean, look, it's like fighting back. It's like, you are not getting me. Not today. And I want you to finish watching the video for a second because look, okay, it's crawling. It's about to get to the, there it goes.
Oh no.
There, okay. That was it. That's what I wanted you to see. It was, and it climbed up to that pole and the person that had this video, that's not his cat, but he did say that he, based off the video, that the cat did get away, the cat's safe. So hopefully the kitty returned home, or if it's a stray, that it's okay.
We say one life was lost out of the 9, but I'm thinking there was a couple of lives.
Yeah, that was a battle. That was a battle. Well, today you can swing, a little less stressful than a cat fight. You can swing into summer thanks to a new exhibit at the Huntsville Botanical Garden.
Take a deep breath. In full swing, that exhibit over there bringing 40 swing sets to the garden. Garden leaders say it's a new way for everyone to experience the garden in a brand new way. There will be a baby swing set up for the garden's littlest guests and even a wheelchair accessible swing. The exhibit will be open until the end of October.
Let's get a check of that forecast. People want to know what their weekend's going to be like, and Carson Meredith is here to deliver.
I'm just pretending like next week's forecast isn't a thing because that heat is going to be hot.
Yep.
Here we go. I'm not a meteorologist.
We are just going to completely ignore. We're just going to completely ignore, guys, next week's forecast. We're just going to focus on today and the weekend with those comfortable temperatures, and we're not baking over the next few days. Let's show you what's happening right now on the WAAY 31 Storm Tracker Early Warning Radar Network. And you'll notice that all of us here in North Alabama are still dry, but that may not last a whole lot longer. If you're watching us this morning, we were talking about this big cluster of severe thunderstorms. It was all the way out in Oklahoma City this morning. Now it's going through Jackson, Mississippi. You can see several severe thunderstorm warnings. Actually, a new tornado warning just popped up down in Jackson, Mississippi. That is not a problem for us whatsoever. What could be a problem for our friends in the shoals in particular is some of the light rain on the back edge of this system. So we'll have that small chance for a couple of showers in northwest Alabama for the rest of your Friday afternoon. Maybe not the best pool day as far as if you want to get a tan, since it's kind of cloudy out there, but temperature-wise, not too bad. 83 is our forecast high today. Again, we'll have that small chance for a shower, perhaps a rumble or two of thunder, particularly in the shoals for the rest of the day. Not a bad evening to fire up the grill. Keep those temperatures in the lower 80s at 5 o'clock tonight, down to near 70 degrees by 9 p.m. And remember, we played 2 games at Toyota Field last night. We're back to the traditional 1 9-inning game tonight. Trash Panda still in town. First pitch at 6:35 over on this TV, channel 31.6. Should be in good shape. Still can't rule out a lingering shower or storm in northwest Alabama, but then we'll be down to the lower 70s by the 7th inning tonight. Whatever activities you might have planned should be just fine this evening. Let's go through future radar. Showers are done once we get past sunset tonight. You notice the clouds start to break up just a little bit, and by the time you wake up Saturday morning, we'll have a good bit of sunshine around. But notice how those clouds fill back in throughout the day tomorrow. There's a tiny chance for perhaps 1 or 2 sprinkles Saturday afternoon, but more than anything else, we'll just keep that mix of sun and clouds with those forecast highs in the mid-80s tomorrow. And then starting on Sunday, more of the same, partly cloudy skies, but those temperatures will begin to climb. We're forecasting highs in the low 90s on Sunday, mid-90s starting Monday and going through much of next week. When you factor in the humidity that's going to be creeping back in too, this is what it will feel like beginning Sunday afternoon. Yeah, you're reading that right. Feeling more like 100 degrees in the shoal Sunday afternoon, 98 here in Huntsville. By Monday afternoon, we are all seeing those triple-digit feels-like temperatures. We'll likely have several heat advisories next week. We'll do it all over again Tuesday afternoon and Wednesday afternoon as well. This is more like August heat that we'll be feeling in the middle of June. So until then, let's enjoy these more comfortable temperatures. We stay in the mid-80s today and tomorrow. Then the 90s are on and they're not going anywhere. And unfortunately, there's not much relief as far as rain chances are concerned. We only see a few scattered storms Wednesday and Thursday of next week.
Thank you, sir. They say 1 is the loneliest number. Up on Mars, NASA's new rover has a new friend, though.
What's keeping Perseverance company up on the red planet?
Welcome back.
Welcome back. This weekend, Redstone Arsenal celebrating the U.S. Army's birthday a little early.
Tomorrow, the Army's parachute team, we know them as the Golden Knights. They'll be jumping, doing what they do, jumping out of the plane there. High above Redstone Gateway. Celebration starts at 5 tomorrow. U.S. Army's official birthday is not until next Tuesday, June 14th, but they'll be celebrating 247 years of service, high flying in style. NASA's Perseverance rover has made a new friend up on the red planet.
It sure has. The rover has a pet rock. They've been inseparable for 4 months. The rock reportedly found its way into the rover's left front wheel in early February. This isn't the first rover to actually have a pet rock. Both the Spirit and Curiosity rover had rocks stuck in its wheels during their mission. They need company too.
Did this happen during Valentine's Day weekend? Lots of love.
Got lonely up there, Mars.
Carson?
We just never know what's happening on Mars, do we? Back here on Earth, not too bad today. Maybe a few showers in the shoals this afternoon. That's all. 83 is your forecast high. And then the heat is on. Beginning Sunday, we're in the low to mid 90s. Heat index values, triple digits. Bottom line, it's going to be hot, hot, hot next week.
Keep the sunscreen around, folks, and stay safe, stay cool. For 24/7 coverage you can count on, WAAYTV.com.
Keep those pet rocks close, too. We'll see you back here at 4 o'clock. Have an awesome afternoon, everybody.